Good afternoon, everyone. So, I am Vikrant. I am Chief Business Officer for Jeebly, one of the UAE's largest 3PL logistics company. So, today we are talking about a topic which is one of the most burning topic in the market is quick delivery. The Q-commerce business, because if I talk about it, last few years, we have seen the transition from next day to same day to now people are talking about 6 minutes deliveries, 5 minute deliveries. And I have a confession to make honestly. Yesterday night, I actually ran out of milk. And somewhere around mid of the night, I realized I've ran out of milk. My cook would have woken me up early in the morning. And I ordered one bottle of milk through one of the grocery players and I got it in 7 minutes. So that's the power and that's what we are trying to build in. That's how the market is moving. I don't think it is any more a requirement or a marketing gimmick or a customer acquisition strategy. It has become a habit for consumers. It is, I need it now. So that's the kind of thing which is now defining the entire e-commerce industry, and we are talking about an industry which is poised to grow to at least $500 billion by the end of this decade. Now, why is this urban delivery shift happening? One is we are seeing that the cities are becoming denser. That's something which is actually helping the e-commerce players run on this platform of Q-commerce, and that's a very big driving force. The density of the city is very big driving force for this Q-commerce industry. Customers are time starved. Gone are the days when I used to place an order and I used to wait. When will it come? Will it come by tonight? Will it come tomorrow? I need it now. And that's what I told. It's a habit now. And people who are coming from other parts of the country must have witnessed that city landscape also. When you now drive in Dubai and people, especially who are coming from outside Dubai, you see the number of bikes moving around. You see the number of delivery guys running around all day in the city. That's the kind of shift, that's the urban shift which has happened in most of these countries where the Q-commerce delivery is happening much rapidly. We, as a player in Q-commerce industry, we ourselves also realized that this shift happened much faster than what we were anticipating. 2 years, and probably I'll take you 5, 6 years back, pre-COVID era, when food delivery started, and that itself was a big thing when food used to come in 1 hour, 1.5 hour kind of a thing. And post-COVID, we never realized how fast the e-commerce entire paradigm has shifted from 2 hour, 3 hour to now 10 minutes kind of a thing. So from food, it moved to grocery. From grocery, it moved to utilities. Now we have been delivering iPhones in 7 minutes, 6 minutes. So that's a habit shift which has happened, and that is what is driving this entire business. I don't know why I need an iPhone in 15 minutes, but I also ordered a phone. It was an impulse buying. I also ordered a phone and I got it in 7 minutes. So that kind of shift is happening, which is why, and customers need it now. Another thing, the planned fulfillment used to be there. We are logistics professional. We understand. We used to talk about lean, and probably 7, 8 years back, when we used to talk about lean, we used to talk about 15 days planning. Today, the entire fulfillment has shifted to 4 hours, 5 hours kind of a planning. I run micro-fulfillment centers, and believe me, in each micro-fulfillment centers, I have close to 40 to 50 inbounds happening every day. So that's the kind of shift. Even sellers are happy about it. The fulfillment centers are happy about it. And we can't expect a leaner system over here. It is all on demand basis. The predictability has become so beautiful in this Q-commerce industry that same seller, same product can be actually delivering it 3 times, 4 times in a micro-fulfillment center for the products to be there. Speed plays a very competitive advantage. Obviously, when we are talking about Q-commerce, it's all about speed. And this speed is not just what we see at the customer doorstep. This speed moves right from your mother warehouses, fulfillment centers to micro-fulfillment centers to picking, packing, and delivery. Can you imagine when we talk about the throughput, what is an expected picking time for a Q-commerce order with close to around 5 to 7 SKUs is lesser than 30 seconds today. So that's what has shifted, and that's how it has been implemented now. 900 million users are expected to use Q-commerce by, again, end of this decade. That's a huge number, though we are still talking about only urban cities, tier 1 or tier 2 cities across, and that's the kind of number which is poised. Imagine when this number flows down to tier 2, tier 3 cities and more parts of the world, that can be an unimaginable number that we are talking about. So what is actually that shifted it from scheduled to now deliveries is we had an SLA of 24 hours, 72 hours. We had a central warehousing system. We had predictable routing. We used to boast about all those things. We started using AI not very long back, 2 years, 3 years back. We all started using AI in our scheduled deliveries, and we were talking about how predictable we are to the customer. But the shift happened so quick that now it is all about 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Your routing, everything has changed. The entire algorithms have changed. How we are doing the load balancing to the drivers, how we are doing the order allocation to the drivers, all those things have shifted very, very quickly in the market. And that is what is all enabling the quick commerce. Hyperlocal routing has become a very important factor. And further in our discussion, I'll explain how this hyperlocal routing is working. But we have to look at the density of a particular micro-fulfillment center. We have to actually go into detail as how many orders per square kilometer can be generated. And there are very clear inflection points about it, is when a particular quick commerce model becomes viable model. In India alone, 66%, that is every 2 orders out of 3 in online grocery is delivered through quick commerce platform. And this is all happening in last 2.5 years. So it is very important for us as stakeholders to understand this power of quick commerce, to start moving to this quick commerce, because that's what our customers are looking for now. Why quick commerce matters is obviously the urban convenience economy. So it has, again, as we mentioned, I need it now. I don't want to wait. It is my requirement. Either you give me right now or I have other platforms to go and order for it. Impulse-driven consumption. Some studies have actually mentioned very beautifully, it has not cannibalized. The quick commerce has not cannibalized e-commerce business, or to extent even the retail businesses. These are additional demand which are being generated, and that is what is called the impulse demand which is generated. So there's overall, if you look at the grocery segment in India is talking about 20 to 30% increase. This is an impulse demand. Yes, we all will eat same. We are not going to eat more. But there are new products coming into the market. There are new impulse consumption which is happening. And that may lead to wastage also sometimes. But yeah, that's the reality of the fact that we as players, we understand that. Retailers are now competing on speed. So that is very, very important. Now everybody is talking about same thing, because if I have to look at the customer need, I have to talk about the speed. That is a very important parameter. Even if you forget about the Q-commerce, grocery and other businesses, in fashion, now major players are talking about get it delivered in 2 hours, get it delivered in 4 hours. So that is something which has become very, very important, and you can't actually hide behind it that, okay, my business, I'll not be looking at this thing, because that's consumer driven. That's not what business is driving it. Platform-led consumer loyalty. So here again, what is happening, because I'm ordering and I'm ordering faster, this speed, this reliability is driving a lot of consumer loyalty as well. So that is driving the stickiness of the consumer on these platforms. So that kind of shift which is happening is why, so now what we are talking about, a 30% CAGR even in GCC market. So GCC, which picked up this, the Q-commerce slightly later than other parts of the world, the growth which is projected over here as well, and we all are witnessing it. Last 2 years, you see how number of platforms which have increased over here, how the entire, all these major retailers, major aggregators have started talking about separate business segment as a now delivery or a quick on-demand delivery. Some of the important drivers for q-commerce, obviously the smartphone penetration. This is increasing across, and this is one of the primary drivers. I'm sitting at home, I'm lying on my bed, I'm having my smartphone, I just order something. Dark stores and MFCs. This is one of the most critical driver for the growth of q-commerce. It is one of the major pillars as well. Because you can't have that stages where you have fulfillment centers and it takes 2 hours drive time. You actually need to have the commodities in 1 to 2 kilometer of radius to the consumer to enable this quick commerce. So that's the growth of micro fulfillment centers happening. These are the dark store concepts that's coming up across. Now, when major players came into the dark store concept, so Amazons and Noons of the world, they had their own dark stores. Now a new concept is coming as a multi-brand dark stores. Not every brand will have the kind of demand that they can sustain dark stores across the city, any city. So that's where companies like us, the 3PL companies, are coming up with multi-brand dark store options, where each of these brands can have a shared space, have a per use kind of a space to enable the fast deliveries for their customers. Real-time data and AI, this plays very, very important role. I'll tell you, when we actually order, and I'll tell you a background of it, how it works out. So when you open your app and you see you can get this order delivered in 10 minutes, even before you have placed your order. From that time itself, the entire routing starts working. Who is the nearest rider available to the dark store assigned to you? How much time will this rider take to reach to the dark store? What is his drive time? To that extent, we have mapped how much time a driver will take from the ground floor of your building to get a lift and reach your apartment. And people living in Dubai, you will know this thing. There are certain buildings which have got very high congestion in lifts at certain specific timings. Those details have also been mapped to ensure that you get what you have been promised about. Rider availability, obviously one of the most important things in UAE. We are facing that shortage now. We are seeing, because of the growth of the entire q-commerce business, food business, rider availability is a very, very important factor. We have still not been able to kill it through drone deliveries or bot deliveries. So still there's a whole lot of dependency on the riders in this, and consumer willingness to pay for speed. We do see right now, and especially the major players, there's a customer acquisition strategy also where we are not charging for that. But in long run, there will be a sweet spot for this delivery, and there will be an additional cost for this delivery to make this quick commerce sustainable. When we talk about these MFCs, across the globe, we already have 6,000 plus dark stores which are listed, registered as dark stores across the globe right now. And just to give you some number in UAE, amongst all major players over here, we are witnessing close to around 5 to 7 dark stores opening every month. So that's the kind of number which is happening here in UAE currently. Pillars for successful q-commerce, as I mentioned, proximity. So this again has a very detailed maths behind it. What should be the proximity? What should be the density of that particular area to help you achieve a sustainable business? That's one very important. The technology orchestration, as I mentioned, ETA, you being able to get what you're being promised. So there's a whole lot of technology which has been changed from your scheduled deliveries. It is all point to point. So maximum what you can achieve here is a batching of order, the clubbing of order. So e-commerce industry is very quickly shifting from a traditional routing base to a taxi based routing industry. It is more point to point. It is more Uberization of the entire e-commerce industry that we are witnessing right now. Flexible rider workforce, obviously, because there's peak and crest in this entire business. And trust me, it's a very huge peak and crest in this business. Whether it is grocery, whether it is food, whether it is utilities, you either order before going to office or you order after you come back from office. So there's a whole lot of lull period. There's requirement how we orchestrate the entire workforce into it so that we are able to achieve the utilization accordingly. Demand forecasting is very, very important, and demand surges like anything. Weather, rains, everything changes very high on this. Next day, same day, demand orchestration was much easier as compared to the demand forecast which is there required in the Q-commerce industry. Cost discipline. 70% of the startups in Q-commerce industries have either failed, shut down, closed. And while we can say that, does that really make sense if 70% of the industries have already closed down? But trust me, some of the players have proved it that yes, it makes sense and it is the future. But why these 70% of the companies have failed? There are a lot of reasons behind it. Again, there's a lot of working behind it. When will you fail? It's a very zone specific business. While it looks very attractive to acquire customer very quickly, but if you have not been able to do your demand mapping, your zone mapping correctly, it's going to be one of the most expensive ornaments that you can have, the quick commerce business enablement. Financial viability, when we talk about higher order density per kilometer, so again, we have a very clear inflection point, 30 to 35 orders if you are having per square kilometer. If you have that kind of a demand, you can work on that model, because the rider cost and everything, when we do a backward calculation, that's the kind of a cutoff that you have, and that's how you should be planning the entire business. Better asset utilization, so whether it is the pickers, packers, it is the riders, everything, how do we utilize them? Premium delivery pricing, as I said, currently a lot of people are not charging it, but it is all about our acquisition strategy. At one point of time, this has to be built into the cost, because the margins from the products might not be that great that it can suffice my delivery cost as well. Faster inventory turns. The inbound is very, very important over here. I can't be running out of stock. That is very important. And when we talk about these MFCs, these are like typically 2,000 square feet, 3,000 square feet kind of a space. You actually cannot plan a one-time inventory intake. You will not have space to unload the material. You will not have space and bandwidth to rack the material. So the shelving and everything, that requires a lot of planning. How do you plan your entire day for the inbound operations as well? Lower customer acquisition cost, that is definitely there, because that's the need of the customer right now. So it helps you in acquiring customers much faster. But as we mentioned, we are talking about 6 minutes, 10 minutes, but trust me, there's a sweet spot for this entire business, and that's like 30 minutes to 45 minutes. And at one point of time, we have to come to reality, where each one of us has to say that, yeah, this is the reality, we will deliver in 30 minutes now. So we can keep talking about 15 minutes. There's a loss of wastage that happens in this 10 minutes, 15 minutes at this point of time. So when we come at a viable model, it will be probably 30 minutes, 45 minutes, where it makes sense and it is a sustainable business model. Some of the cost levers which actually affect the entire planning of this is, again, zone-based rider planning. One suggestion and one recommendation I have, which again by experience of running a lot of micro-fulfillment centers and Q-commerce orders, we should always plan it, a particular zone we should plan, and we should move or expand our business zone specifically. Don't try to run it for entire Dubai. Don't try to run it for entire city in one go. You should create your demand in a particular zone, then move to second zone. So while at one point of time we are talking that there is a problem with the customer, that the customer is losing patience, but at the same time the e-commerce player needs to have more patience in this game. Dynamic batching. When we talk about 30 minutes to 45 minutes, the biggest enabler in cost over here is the batching of orders. That will give us close to around 30 to 40% of cost reduction in overall delivery cost when we start talking about batching. Shared fleet utilization, technology-driven dispatch, a lot of things are already happening. It is impeccable that without that we move ahead. And the peak managements. While we talk about all this, sustainability remains one of the most important factor. And the good part is we have a better edge of achieving a sustainable practice in quick commerce. Why? Your overall distance covered by a rider reduces significantly. Your zones or radius are much smaller. where you can plan your swapping facilities. EVs can be placed much better over here as compared to other platforms. Route optimizations are much easier, and trust me, now drivers, when they work on one route, they remember it so quickly because it's a very small zone that they have to work on. Smart packaging returns, you see very small examples. Lot of Q-commerce players, if you are ordering, your bags will come and bags will not have a airway bill. This paper, say, there's a QR code which is printed on it. Because the movement is faster, the driver does not have 20 orders stacked or 50 orders stacked in his car. It becomes much easier for everyone to move on it. So those are kind of solutions. Even the return becomes faster and much shorter. So those are sustainable solutions where you can, what is much faster achievable in the Q-commerce business as compared to when we talk about a long distance or a long route planning. Higher delivery probability. So here, unsuccessful attempts are near zero. If I am ordering, I know I am available in 10 minutes, I'll be there, and it is good enough for me to wait over there. I know I'm running out of time. So riders are the most important thing. There are a lot of myths that are being talked about. Rider is under stress. Yes, sir, he is under stress, but there are certain benefits to the rider because of the short distance. I'll give you an example of Dubai. When I do 2-kilometer delivery, a rider might be working within Barsha. He might be working within Business Bay. He does not have to go to Sheikh Zayed Road, which are much riskier for him. He does not have to drive at a stretch 15 kilometers, 20 kilometers. So here, the rider productivity also increases. The rider stress levels also reduces in certain cases. Fuel expenses, obviously, the overall fuel expenses reduces for the rider, and usage of, as I mentioned, EV vehicles is much better and easier over here. The landscape of the city, it is very important that the city has to be ready for any kind of quick commerce. So it is not just by the e-commerce aggregators or the logistics providers. It is something hand in hand which goes along with the city. When we talk about that, the EV charging stations across, the MFCs enablements. So right now we know when we were looking for these MFCs, when we opened these dark stores, there's no specific location which says that it was built for a dark store. We are taking a retail store and we are converting it into a dark store because we never thought of how the inbound will work. Can a truck come here? Can a van come here? Will bikers have the parking space over here? So that ways the cities also have to change as per the requirement of the Q-commerce. And sustainability, convenience is one of the most important thing that we talked about. That is something that has to come into this. 70% of your overall Q-commerce orders happens within a radius of 2 kilometers. So that's the kind of shrink that we are seeing in the overall business. That's the kind of infrastructure which is required every 2 kilometers now. That's the change which we have to see in the city dynamics. So as I mentioned, I'll be closing now. I'm also running out of time. So Q-commerce, again, I'll say it is an enablement. It is something which is driven by the consumer. We can't hide from it now. We have to enable our business to enforce 2-hour, 4-hour, 15-minute, 30-minute, 45-minute deliveries. And whatever is required, the governance also has to come along with it to enable this entire infrastructure for the city. That's it from my side. Hope it was an interesting one. And any questions, I'm open for that. Thank you. Anything? Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.